thank you everyone for joining us for the first of our REEFSCAPE Coaches Corner, so the first of this season. I appreciate everyone logging into our new time. Usually we do these in the afternoon, but by popular demand, I should say, maybe, we moved them to in the evenings at 7. We already have a greater turnout than we usually do, so that must be working somewhat. I appreciate everyone's time here. This is a small, intimate crowd, and of course, with FIRST as it is, very much I open up the invitation there for you to chime in. Throw your questions into the chat. With a smaller group like this where we do mostly know each other, go ahead and unmute yourself if you ever have a question. There's a couple of points along in my presentation where I will pause and ask for questions and so forth, but definitely want to hear your knowledge and find out what your questions are. So definitely feel welcome to throw questions in the chat, unmute yourself, and let us know what's on your mind. If you're not speaking, I do ask you kind of just leave yourself muted, just so we don't get any background noise in here. This is being recorded, and we will get it posted usually within a day or so as well. If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name is Louis Rubo. I am the Team Development Education Specialist with FIRST Nevada. I work cross-program, supporting teams in whatever needs they have. I'm this year also taking on the role of the FIRST LEGO League Program Delivery Partner. So I'm working with you in other avenues as well, as a number of you are either hosting events for FIRST LEGO League, or you are yourself donating students or volunteering your own time with those events. So I appreciate it. So just a quick reminder from previous seasons, we are continuing to host the FRC Public Resource Folder. This is a folder that's really our repository of information. So in the context of tonight, all my presentation slides are in there. It's not just the slides themselves. Every slide has some annotated presenter notes so that you can go in there and see all the things I had meant to say and I didn't. It also has all the hyperlinks and as well that may be of use to. I try to use QR codes throughout so you have a chance to scan them, but if one goes by too fast, you're welcome to go back into the presentation slides themselves to grab it. The other thing that's specific to FRC, this repository, if you will, really has collected a number of resources over the years. I know Joe himself has donated a lot. Joe used to pass around a little a flash drive to new teams and coaches to give them resources. I've uploaded everything from, I think the last time I had a touch of the flash drive, which was about a year or so ago, so it's pretty updated. If you yourself come across some great resources, let me know. Be happy to throw them in there so we all have a chance to share them. So here's the agenda for tonight. I know we have some new people, great. Even some more veterans that could use another rundown of what FIRST Nevada exactly is and where our role is in delivering the FIRST Robotics Competition program. I then want to dive into our season calendar. What does it look like this year? And it's not just for us, it's also for FRC in general. And then I want to end with things you should be thinking about here with knowing that the calendar is in October. So what should you as a coach be doing right now with your team and getting ready for this new year? So that's kind of our agenda. Before we start, I do want to say a great welcome to a couple of new teams. First off, Adelson School has officially secured themselves. They are a brand new FRC team. And if you'll note, I think they're the first team to be secured with a 5-digit number in the state of Nevada. Yep. They are ready to go. We do have 3 other new teams joining us in Nevada this year. We have a community team up north that is starting up. We have a high school down here in the south in Mojave High School that will be joining us this year. And then we have a team transferring over from California, a community team that will be joining us. So we'll have 4 brand new teams this year in Nevada. If everything works out as we expect, we'll actually have 28 teams this year, which would be the most teams ever for us. So great job spreading the word and supporting each other in our growth. So it's so awesome to see all these teams here now. So yeah, we are at 28 teams at least. Small probability we can get to 29. We'll see. So that's pretty cool stuff. For the last 2 years, we have finally gotten to the tipping point where the Las Vegas regional is more Nevada-based than anything. So that's been really kind of cool to see that. But I want to say welcome to all of our new teams. And we have a few teams where we have new coaches taking over as well. So welcome everyone to the First Nevada community. So let's dive into First Nevada specifically. We are a nonprofit organization that supports all of the delivery programs, all the programs here in the state. So we do everything from First Lego League through First Tech Challenge on to FIRST Robotics Competition. Our job is to support you as a coach, to support your teams, getting them ready for the competitions. We also host the competitions all the way through, again, First Lego League through FIRST Robotics Competition. This is kind of unusual. If you travel around the country, you will find that not all nonprofits locally run all of FIRST. We're very fortunate in the way our founder, Gene, set us up that we do have coverage for all programs. One of the benefits of this is that we have volunteers that support all the programs. We can help teams easily transition upwards. We can also help our more senior teams, like your FRC teams, supporting our younger programs, and it makes everything much smoother here. So if you have any questions about anything FIRST, you're welcome to ask us about it, and we can definitely answer them for you, or we can find the person who knows the answers for you. One thing that a lot of people get confused about is how our relationship stands to the other FIRST out there. So there is another entity, FIRST, as we just playfully call them, headquarters. Sometimes you might call them FIRST Inspires. They're the organization that comes up with the annual game. So they're the ones that came up with REEFSCAPE. They're the ones that define the standards for delivering the program. They're the ones that you register with as a team. So that is FIRST headquarters, and their job really is, as I put on the slide there, the development of the annual challenges. We are a standalone, separate nonprofit, and our job is to deliver those programs to you. And so we work together in unison with headquarters to provide the FIRST programs overall. There's some good and bad with this. The good here is that it allows us to get very friendly and know our teams locally, so we can be there to support you. It gets, one of the shortcomings of it is it gets a little confusing on which website you go to, where do you retrieve your information. So in general, you can always start with us. FIRST Nevada will be here to help you. But a lot of times you end up on the FIRST headquarters website, which is firstinspires.org, where you'll get information about the game and some resources there. And then you'll come to us specifically about like the Las Vegas Regional or the supporting workshops I'll talk about here in a moment. When you're in the other programs like First Lego League and First Tech Challenge, it gets even more confusing when we have an additional season fee involved and the different competition structures. But for us, just let you know, there are two FIRST organizations. We do use the same logo. We just put Nevada underneath our version, but we are two standalone separate nonprofits. Your $6,000 goes to headquarters, just as a little FYI on that side. That does go to headquarters. We do not locally see that money. So it does take, I usually say it takes an entire village to run the program, but for this year's theme, I'm going to say we take an entire dive team to actually run the FRC program here. These two individuals you probably have met at least through email, if not in person. So Angela Quick is she wears actually two hats. She is our executive director for FIRST Nevada. She's also the regional director for the FIRST Robotics Competition program. So you'll reach out to her with any questions related to FRC or in general about FIRST. Leilani Pavlik is our superstar volunteer coordinator for all of our programs, especially in the southern area, but she also wears the hat of assistant regional director. So she works very closely with Angela in helping deliver the FRC program in Nevada. We've all worked with both of them in different aspects. Leilani also wears a third hat, if you will. She does a lot of our grants and our grant supports for our teams as well. Then we come to our team support folks. So there I am on the left. I am a team development person. As I said, I'm also the PDP for FLL. My history is I got involved through my kid who started off with First Lego League, went on to do First Tech Challenge. I, at that time, also became a judge for FRC. I was out in Myrtle Beach, so I was working with the Palmetto Regional, and I was on their planning committee. And so I have some history with FRC as well. I'm currently actually taking the mentor course at UNLV, so I'm working with Jonathan out there as well. It's kind of fun. Supporting also our teams is Naomi Duncan and Angela Morales, who are our first senior mentors. Naomi's got the northern part of the state. Angela's in the southern part. They are both alumni of the FIRST programs. Very knowledgeable people. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to go to them as well. If you're ever stuck, you can just reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to answer your question. We're a tight group that always are in meetings with each other. We're always texting each other. We're always messaging each other, and we're seeing each other at events. So if we don't know the answer, we just turn to our colleagues and find the answer. And when we don't know it, we go to Joe and ask him, how do you do this in FRC? And he's been a great resource for us as well. So the first thing I want to mention in terms of things we do to support you is Angela sends you newsletters. These are our primary source of communications from FIRST Nevada to you, relevant to information about Nevada-based FRC. You're probably getting, let's just say, a lot of emails from headquarters as well. Do recognize, again, coming back to that, there are two separate entities involved. Headquarters is going to send you the generic, all-encompassing FRC stuff. You're going to see things from Angela that either repeats some of that really important information from headquarters or is specific to things in Nevada. So I do want to remind you to check these newsletters, to read through them. They're not too overwhelming in terms of the amount that she sends out, but I do want to make sure you're reading through those because they are the primary source of communication from Angela to you in terms of information about FRC in our state. I should say all of the lead coaches, you are automatically added to the newsletter. So we pull a report from headquarters. We see who the lead coach 1 and 2 are. We take your contact information, automatically add it to our distribution list. With FRC, obviously our teams usually have more than just the 2 coaches involved. If you have other people who want to be added to our distribution list, just send us a quick email, or they can go to the firstnevada.org website. And at the bottom, even the first page, there's a way to sign up for our newsletters as well. So if you have additional mentors or if you have parents who are helping out with the team and they want to get our newsletters, they can sign up as well. So a resource that we've been using for a number of years is a private Facebook group. This is a group where what we do is we repeat information that is really essential. And we also announce some side information that's kind of peripheral to the big picture. Ideally, it's also a place for you to ask us questions. So you're welcome to join Facebook. We do recognize that it is a social media platform. Not everybody is on Facebook. So we make sure that anything we post in there is not critical information unless we're repeating it from the newsletter. So you're welcome to join this. I know, a lot of people use Facebook and they check in on it daily. So we recognize that, and so we try to put some information in there that we hope that crosses your eyeballs throughout the day. It's a good way for us to also share unique resources that we might think you find interesting. So you're welcome to join this group. It is a private Facebook group, so you just kind of say, hey, let me in, and either Angela and I, or let's say approve it. We do ask that this is for the adults only. We're truly trying to aim our intent with this to our coaches who are supporting the teams. So we're filtering out and not having our students join this group. But again, you're welcome to join it. It's not a necessity. It's just there as an additional resource to help you out. In a similar vein, this year we're starting a new experiment. We're looking at using Slack as a further communication tool. So if you're not familiar with Slack, it is not social media, and I do want to emphasize that. It's not social media. It is a communication tool that really came out of the business world. I used it when I used to coach FTC. It's a great way for teams to communicate with each other. It's also a good way to organize threads of information. So when you join our Slack group, you'll see that I have 5 channels already set up for FRC. One's on events, one's on general information, one on robot build, one on rules clarification, and one on team management. And this allows us to have ongoing conversations with you and also between coaches. Every season, we have an end-of-season survey, both from headquarters, but we also run one locally. And one of the things we've heard back from our coaches is that you would like an avenue, a method for you to have communication directly between coaches. we want to hear that peer-to-peer mentoring happening as we bring on new coaches, or even if you're a veteran coach, you might be stuck on a new idea, or you want to share a great idea that you've discovered. Slack is really meant to be that communication tool. It is a way for you to communicate with each other. It's also a way for you to ask First Nevada questions. So we're always on here monitoring it and looking at what's on your mind and what can we do to support you. We also share when we come across a really cool resource. So like I just posted today, I didn't know this particular calendar of season calendar for FRC existed. So I put it there on Slack so you can see that. Also, if you work cross-program, you have access to FTC and FLL as well, but you don't have to be a part of that. It's there available if you're interested in that cross-program. So if you are an FRC team wanting to mentor an FLL team, you're welcome to go into those FLL channels and help mentor those teams in this way as well. So this, again, is completely voluntary. About a month ago, I sent an invite out to all of the Lead 1 and Lead 2 coaches. You're welcome to join. You can use a QR code here on the screen to join our Slack channels. Again, it's not completely voluntary. We don't assume you're on it, but we do like to see more communication amongst everybody. So yeah, and Carrie, you're asking, will it be? Yeah, so yes and no. So Carrie asked in the chat, will this info on Slack be available in other ways? If it's essential, yes. So if it's things like, I'm going to talk about here in a moment, your second preferences or opening and closing, have you signed up for a kickoff? We will use Slack as a reminder tool for that. But Angela will also communicate that essential information through her newsletters. On the other hand, we had a great question here as it kind of uses my model here. This year, there's going to be new radios. And people were asking about, well, are they for sure going to use the radios this year? Somebody asked this great question. So I put in there in the Slack the response to it. Actually, Riley Camp helped me out with this one. So that won't necessarily get repeated in other avenues. So certain things are going to end up in Slack that are kind of tangential to our main conversation. We recognize that, and that's why we're not going to assume you're in Slack, but it is a way to have kind of those side coffee conversation with each other. The essential stuff, though, is going to be coming through those newsletters. Yeah. So hopefully that kind of addresses your question.
It does, but at the same time, that sort of does mean that we do have to be on Slack, because if you're going to if somebody's asking you a question about radios and you're answering it on Slack as opposed to putting it elsewhere, then we have to be on Slack.
Yeah, so like this question here, and this one I have an example of, this was not repeated anywhere else. So this was a couple weeks ago. Someone was asking about these radios.
Would it be possible to, if it's on Slack, to put it in the private Facebook group?
Some things I do. If it's something where like I found a resource, I've been posting in both locations.
But I mean, like questions like this about the radio, which would be important because I am not interested in having yet another messaging app to check. We added a new one for the team, and this is purely selfish on my part. I totally understand that. But is there a way that we can have that, like the question about the radio, even if it's just a quick post, hey, this was a discussion on Slack and about the radios, and it appears this is what's really happening, like a summary sort of thing rather than a direct.
Can try. The challenge would be if it's an ongoing conversation and keeping up with that conversation. Some of them are pretty quick one-offs. Like this was a question. Riley found an answer online, and it was just a one response. That's great and quick and done in where it could be. Other things could be a little bit more challenging, so I think it might be a sometimes answer, to be honest. And I do try to double post if it is something, like I said, a resource I think isn't helpful. But if it's a conversation, it's going to be harder to duplicate that, I think. Yeah.
So we have to join Slack.
Yeah, or just have a dedicated. Now, I should also emphasize this is for coaches only. But if you can just have one coach represent your team, that would work well. Kind of in a way that the FRC forums sort of work. Not everybody is allowed in there to post, and it's an experiment. We're still trying to figure out the best usage of this. And that is noted what you're saying as well. Yeah.
And I think in the case of the radios in this particular instance that you're using, I know it's just an example, but it's just referring back to either a blog post by FIRST that went out. So some of the things that are already items that went out from FIRST that we're just kind of referencing or sending a link to. Those are things that the teams would already have received. So I think, like you said, if we just don't really have the manpower to be duplicating it in multiple places, especially if it's just conversational. But a lot of the things like this in particular would have been something that went out to teams. So it's just kind of referencing it back to them.
Good. That's a good question. Yeah. All righty. I'm going to pause for a moment. Is there any other questions? That was a good one. Any others that people have about FIRST Nevada and kind of the generic resources we have to support you?
I got a question too. Would we also have a what's it called, Chief Delphi thread specifically for FIRST Nevada 2 available, or no?
We have not set one up. That would be yet more work for me. I can't imagine. It wouldn't hurt if you guys want to organize that. That would be, yeah, Slack was my one next step this season. So, but if you want to do a Chief Delphi one, I would leave that to be an organic thing within our community, and just let me know about it, and I can post links to it in our outlets. But for us to set it up and monitor it, definitely not this year. Yeah, it's a bit much. A bit more. Yeah, that's curious. Good. All right. Well, we'll have more chance for questions. I'm going to move forward and talk about our season calendar of events, not only for FIRST Nevada, but for FRC in general. So first off, I do want to point you to our calendar of events. It is a dynamic calendar, and what that means is as we get more information relevant to the events we host, we update this calendar. And so you can go into it, click on event title, and you get these pop-up bubbles that has a description. If there is a registration form involved, we'll have a hyperlink within there. And as things get solidified, we update this calendar with that information. So I do want to point you to it. We've been using this for a couple of years with a lot of success, a lot of positive feedback. The thing about it to keep in mind, as you can see here, is a screenshot from today. There's a lot of events on there because it does cover all of our programs. So FIRST LEGO League Explorer, FIRST LEGO League Challenge, FIRST Tech Challenge, and FIRST Robotics Competition are all represented on this calendar. We do color code our events, and we use the shorter acronym for the events, so you can quickly see the blue ones obviously are all for FRC, orange is for FTC, red is for FLL Challenge, and green is for FLL Explorer. Orange and red, pretty close, but for blue, it's pretty easy to see. Also, there's not a ton of events for FRC, but as we do get information on there, you're welcome to come join it. Also, as your team gets involved with hosting and volunteering at other programs, you can find that information on here as well. From a FIRST Nevada perspective, this is kind of our lineup of team support activities for this year. In bold are everything that's in person. The regular type font there is everything that we do remotely, which is our Coaches Corners. So you see we're starting here in October. This is our first event to support you. In a couple of short weeks, we do have our fall conference, which I'm going to talk a little bit more depth about most of these throughout today. We do have our marketing and business workshop, again, hosted by UNLV. We'll jump all the way down to January when things get really fun. We do have our kickoff events. We have down here in the south, the full kickoff. In the north, we have our satellite event. Complementary to those kickoffs, we do have a workshop tied into it. In the south, it's a chassis build. In the north, we do a potluck strategy. What do we call it? I was looking for the second word, Carrie. Strategy design workshop, maybe-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game strategy.
There we go. In the north, we are going to repeat the spring conference. I should say repeat in the sense that we did it last year. It'll be a new set of sessions. Then, fingers crossed, Joe, Simron's ready for us on March 1st. I hope we'll have our normal scrimmage, which is, I believe, is it week 1 this year or week 0 still? I didn't match it quite up, but
is what week 0?
Is March 1st week 0 or week 1? I can't recall. Yeah, it's somewhere in the early days, so yeah.
That would be 1, I believe.
Yeah. So this is our schedule of events moving forward. If you want to be a part of it, I'll talk about here more. There's plenty of opportunities for your teams to jump in and be involved with this. Coaches, you're always invited and encouraged to join our Coaches Corner. Of course, as we evolve through the season, the topics get more and more specific to the REEFSCAPE game and preparing you for the upcoming competitions. So to dive a little deeper into it, last year we ran a little experiment. Rather than having multiple workshops spread out over the calendar, what we decided to do was kind of collect up those workshops and host 2 conferences, one in the fall and one in the spring. We had pretty good turnout, good success. The idea is still the same as the original workshops. We just do them all in one day. The idea here is that teams are teaching teams about their knowledge and their expertise. So teams come in, they run these sessions for other teams, and then you would go over, and in the next hour and a half, you learn from them. And you go through a cycle of 3 different sessions in parallel, learning about the various topics that these teams are experts on. We had great turnout last year. I think it was a good success. So we're going to repeat it again this year. Just working it into the schedule. The fall one will be on November 2nd. And then the spring one is on January 18th. We purposely kind of chose those dates where November should be late enough where our teams have started at least gathering the kids together, started putting together a planning process. January, we wanted to be off of kickoff, but still early enough that we can talk about design strategies, game strategies, also just planning for that build season. Right now, we only have the registration open for the fall conference. I know Angela shared this out. I highly encourage you to come out. This is an event for both the kids and the coaches. Coaches, we get you networking or you're learning something new yourself. Kids, you're working about learning new shop skills. You're learning about new CADing abilities. You're learning all kinds of stuff from your peers. I love this event because it really is cooperation on right there. I mean, this is what it's all about. Here is the tentative agenda for the fall. I might be a little bit of an eye strain. You can see we actually have quite a full list of sessions going on with our fall conference. We have everything from limelights and learning about Swerve Drive. I'm going to try to teach XRP robots, fingers crossed that everything is in stock by then. We have gears and motors, electronics, pneumatics. We're going to do some CADing with Onshape. We're also going to talk about just general design process for the season. Non-committal, of course, we don't know the REEFSCAPE game, but just the general practices of how you approach it. We're also going to get into team structure. What is a good way to structure your team? What is a good use of historians to track your team's evolution through the season? We're also going to talk about resources and how you market your team. And we're also going to talk about events. How does your team prepare for an event? What do they do at the event? How do they scout at the event? So you can see from this, we have a full spectrum of everything from very specific to the robot to running your team and marketing your team. As you notice there, I do have a couple holes. So if you have an idea for a session you would love us to add, please do let me know. I do have a couple spots here. And if we have more demand, I would happily turn over my spot to someone. So hint, 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 please throw in some suggestions here. Right. Actually, oops, I got to change the date on there. It's supposed to be Saturday, November 9th, not the 4th. November 9th, UNLV will be hosting their annual business and marketing for FIRST teams. It is a cross-program workshop. It is both for our FTC and our FRC teams. What they do is they talk about the business side of FIRST. So we're going to look at things like budgeting, marketing, your soft skills, communication, and collaboration. They're also going to provide tours of the new advanced engineering building. So if you haven't been on campus yet to see that brand new building, they're going to provide some tours for us. They're going to provide lunch for our participants as well. Last year I was there. It was a great event. I know our teams got a lot out of it. It is, though, I'm going to put a little caveat. It is the same day as our FLL qualifier. So make sure we have our qualifier staff, then send the extra kids over there now. I mean, really, this is a great event for you to join. So that kind of moves us onto the calendar to kickoff. As I already mentioned, we do have 2 kickoffs set up. We have the main kickoff here in the south. We are going to try using the new auditorium in the new building. We're going to see how that works. And then we're going to follow that up with our chassis build that we usually do. In the north, we're going to return back to the K-12 robotics space where they have a half field. We've been doing this for a number of years now. We're going to do a satellite kickoff up there. And then afterwards, Team Fire is going to be hosting that potluck and strategy design workshop, we'll call, up there as well. So if you're in the north, as we are starting to grow more teams, we really much invite you to come out there and enjoy the kickoff and the strategy workshop afterwards. I'm going to talk about in a moment, if you haven't yet, you do have time still to sign up for where you want your kit of parts shipped to. But you do need to have that done here in the next few weeks. Absolutely. And then I get back to, we do have our annual scrimmage at Cimarron. I was joking with Joe. They're currently under renovation, so hopefully everything is finished up at time. Great benefits there is not only do we have a veteran team sharing their space with everyone, it's also an opportunity for teams to network and to use their field there. So one of the things that Cimarron does have is a full field where they usually have a mock-up of that year's game. And so you can actually take your robot onto the field and see how it interacts with those game elements, as well as having multiple robots on the field and getting a feel for how do things balance, if there's a balancing component, or how far is a scoring element going to be. It's a great opportunity to do that, as well as just, as I said, learning from other teams. As we get closer to it, we'll talk a little bit more about what you should do and expect out of it, but really it's meant for everybody. And that's why I kind of rebranded it as the Learn and Play scrimmage, to really encourage everyone to come out regardless of the state of your team, because it is a wonderful opportunity to just learn from each other as you get prepared for your regional. And of course, the main event is the Las Vegas Regional. We are a week 5 event, which is the end of March, the 26th to the 29th. We have finalized and secured Thomas and Mack, so we will be returning to our old stomping grounds. Really, it's been a wonderful event these last few years. Well, it has been for quite some time. And so we're really just doing a rinse and repeat of it. So if you've been there before, very much expect a similar vibe there. We are expecting the same number of teams, and we're going to cap at 45 teams. But be ready and mark your calendar. If you're new to FRC, I do want to emphasize that this is a multi-day event, and you're expected to be there for every day. The only exception is on Wednesday in the evening, we do load in. If you can't make that load in on Wednesday evening, you can load in on Thursday morning. But you as a team are expected to be there all day on Thursday, all day on Friday, and all day on Saturday. I've literally seen teams leave early on Saturday and find out that they had received an award. It's an unfortunate moment, but it does happen. So if you're planning for it and you're starting to fill out school paperwork, do make sure you're putting down full days on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you haven't had a chance yet, Angela just put into the chat there the sizzle reel from last year. It's really exciting. Good stuff. Kind of seeing last year's event up close. So teams have already started signing up. Now that we're doing our first Coaches Corner in October, we've already gone through first preference. I don't expect you to read this on here, but what you might want to do is use the QR code. You can go directly to the Las Vegas Regional event page and see the 37 teams we already have signed up. We've got a lot of repeats coming from out of state joining us again. I think I saw on here we have Japan as well. Canada is coming back. Of course, a number of teams from California are coming out. So again, we have a very international feel to it. We're not done registering teams. This is only the first 37. We do get up to 45 teams for this event. And of course, teams do get moved around as they finalize payment and they find out what other sessions they got into, or I should say other regionals they got into. But if you're kind of curious and you like to enjoy seeing this stuff, you're welcome to go see what teams have signed up. We do have our new teams in here, so we're going to see our new rookie teams coming in and joining us for the first time, which would be awesome. Right now, actually, tomorrow morning, second round of event preferencing opens up. So if your team is interested in attending a second regional, just remember that tomorrow that opens up and you have a week to let FIRST know what is your second preferences. It's always weird to say preferencing. My computer doesn't like that word. But the key here is if you are supported from the NDE. So a lot of our teams in Nevada are receiving funding from the Nevada Department of Education for this year. You are required to compete in the Las Vegas Regional. Some of you slipped through and maybe put your first preference not the Las Vegas Regional. So I just want to remind you that you better make sure that your second preference is the Las Vegas Regional. We love to have you compete in general. We want to see our Nevada teams come together and support each other. But just make sure in the next week that you do sign up for that Las Vegas Regional if it wasn't your first preference. And if you're going to a second regional, just remind you tomorrow's the day to start thinking about signing up for that second regional. This is the website I stumbled onto this week. I didn't know it exists. Shame on me. Maybe it did exist before, but there is a singular web page that they very nicely organized all of the major dates on the FRC calendar. Everything from when do you need to do your opting out, which we've already passed that point of return, to when do the awards open up. So we do have our Impact and our Dean's List Awards and Woody Flowers Awards opening very soon. But it also has on there things like the second event preferences, the Kid Apart kickoff selection, the payment due dates. If you haven't paid your registration fee yet, just know November 12th is that special date. November 12th is also the all regional registration closes date. So if you make sure you're signed up for your regional of choice, if not two, by them. I think when I started reading through this website, it's a great resource because it's very clean and simple and very linear. Just start at the top and you scroll down reading through the dates, and it just reminds you of all of the major things as an FRC coach you need to make choices on as you move through. Some of them may not apply to you. Some of them are districts related. We're not a district in Nevada. We're regional. And some of them maybe you're not going to be interested in a particular award, like the Safety Animation Award. But all the dates are there for you as a reminder as you progress through the season. November 12th is a very important date. There's a number of things where that's the cutoff. So do make sure you've made a lot of choices by that date. I just want to say that. Shout out to Leilani if she's still on this call. FRC isn't the only thing FIRST Nevada is responsible for. We do also host our FIRST Lego League Challenge and FIRST Tech Challenge competitions as well. We really much appreciate and enjoy having our FRC teams either host those events or provide volunteers at them. This year, FIRST Lego League Challenge has moved our schedule up by 1 month. So all of our events are in the fall semester. We have our qualifiers coming up in November. We have our championship in December, and then FLL is done. FTC, we start our league meets in December with our scrimmages before then. We then continue on into January with league meets. Then we have our league tournament and our state championship all the way through February. We really could use your help providing volunteers for these events. FRC students make a wonderful referee. They make wonderful inspectors. Even judging. We've got some great FRC students who are judges for us. Please help us out. Send your students our way and helping out at our events. If you're one of our host teams, thank you so much for opening your doors and helping us out by hosting our events there. To sign up, you just go to your FIRST dashboard, sign into your dashboard, and there is a volunteer tab there. Go ahead and sign up for those events as soon as possible. Leilani sleeps so much better the more volunteers we have signed up. So, we do very much encourage you to do that early and often. We're allowed to multi-vote here. If you have multiple events to go in there, do that for us. So just want to put that shout out. Not only is the FLL PDP, I know Leilani, as she said, is on here and really would appreciate your help with that. Okay, any questions about calendars, events, deadlines, due dates, anything like that? As Leilani is reminding us in the chat, we really could use some help in the Reno and Elko area, getting volunteers to our events. Yep, for sure.
I know that we did those workshops over at Cimarron, and I know those are in Vegas. However, I don't know if it's a Barry question or a Rubo question. Is there a way that northern teams such as Fire and everybody else that's up here, is there a way we can get those resources as well?
So if we're not going to record the workshops, but if there's a presentation slide deck that goes with it, I do collect those. And they are available in the public resource folder. If you guys want to organize yourself, I can help communicate that. If you say want to get the 4 teams together and do a mini version of the conference, that's something we can also talk about. It's something that I haven't organized this year, especially because we're really bringing on a new rookie team. Galena is only in their second year with the turnover of coaches. Something I haven't pushed yet in the North, but as we do grow, it's definitely something for us to explore, is that maybe in the K-12 space, we do a special day of workshops there as well. What I would ask is that we start it organically. And if someone wants to take the lead, we can support you in making sure it's getting communicated around and build from there.
Yeah, Mark, I threw my email in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat, but go ahead and email, because we've led workshops before and we're having meetings all fall anyways to do training. So we can always meet up together with any other teams in the area that want to do it.
Sweet. Sounds like a plan. I also know that I think Masi Madani is also on here too. So
oh, hi, Masi. I didn't see you come on.
I was like, I saw him pop in too. So just so he also has the resource as well.
Yep, he has my email already. So,
and if that, like Carrie, if you ever want us to share that to help communicate across multiple teams, let us know. Happy to put it in Facebook. Happy to put it in Slack for you to make sure that word gets out to our teams. That you are a resource and willing to help provide that.
Yeah, please do. I don't think I have all the emails for all the northern coaches any longer because of some changes. So yeah, please share my email out, or I'd love to have their emails too, so I can just send out messages in group mass. That'd be great.
Carrie, I'm here. I'll message you later.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, for the sake of time, we're going to jump into our last section, which is team preparation. So I do recognize, looking at the calendar, it's mid-October. Some of our teams are just maybe thinking about getting together for the first time this year. Some of them have started practicing. We're in all kinds of different states at the moment, and we recognize that. So when I bring up these team preparation, I also recognize where you are on the calendar. In November, we're going to start diving more into your kids are maybe starting to meet, and we'll start talking about other activities at that point. At this point in the year, I mean, the first thing is just to make sure you as a coach are ready to coach your team. And just as a reminder, every team has to have a minimum of 2 youth protection program screen coaches. And this has been around long enough that some of us had to renew our background screening this year or maybe last year. So as a reminder, this is a good time of year to just check. Are you YPP screened? Do you need to go back in and up it as a reminder? Now, this is separate from your consent and release. Remember, your consent and release you have to do every single year. So you do sign into your FIRST dashboard. Basically, you click on one little button and hit submit. That does your consent and release. But every 4 years, you do need to do your YPP screening. And we're starting to see that cycle is now coming up. So this is a good time of year to do it. I also want to mention, I know in some of our northern counties, this background screening can sometimes take a little longer than expected, just because getting that feedback, it takes a couple more weeks. In the South, we tend to see it happen very rapidly, but all the same, it's a good time of year. Just as personally, go into your FIRST dashboard and make sure that you as a coach are ready to be a coach on a team and have that YPP screening. I do know it's also a part of being able to register events. So I know a lot of you have probably done this already, but just as a check, as a reminder to everyone, make sure you have 2 coaches who are screened. As a rule of thumb, anybody who interacts with your team more than 30% of the time, they should be added to your roster as a mentor, and they too should be screened. So just as a rule of thumb, anyone who's working with your team more than 30% of the time, add them as a mentor and make sure they too are screened. Other thing I want to make sure you're doing is go into your team rosters and make sure we have the right contact information for you. If you've changed schools, or maybe you want to change what email address you have, maybe you've changed coaches, we want to make sure we have the most up-to-date contact information for you. So do go into your team dashboard, go under the contact information, and make sure that the lead coaches 1 and 2 have the proper people in that place and with the proper contact information. As I said earlier, it's this information that we grab and we load into our distribution lists so that when we need to get a hold of you to remind you, hey, we're not seeing that you've signed up for your kickoff yet, we have the right contact information to reach out to you as well. So do make sure it's a quick check just to make sure your team is all prepped. And this allows us to make sure we have the right contacts within your team so that we can share that information. Other thing I want to bring up, over the last few years, we've been very fortunate to have support from a number of industry partners. We've had the Tesla Education Investment. We've had the Nevada Department of Education support. This has allowed us to put a lot of resources into our teams and support them. This is it. This is the last year. A lot of teams are rolling out of their Tesla support. They are finishing up their 5 years. Also, this is the last year that we had any NDE funds to help pay your registration. I want to bring this one up and to remind everyone, expect next year that your team is probably going to have to pay their full registration. So as you're working through this year and you're starting to build up industry partners and getting that support, do kind of budget for having the full registration as part of your budget for next season. So do keep that in mind as you're working forward, moving there. There's some resources that FIRST provides. They have a dedicated page there that I have on the left about fundraising. So as you're recruiting kids this year and you're looking at those freshmen and sophomore, you may be thinking about finding the right students who are really good at your fundraising. Show them this resource so they start building up that skill this year so that over the course of the off season, they can help you fundraise next year. On the right is the team grants page. FIRST kind of compiles as best they can grants that are available. Do recognize that these grants are for all of our programs across the entire United States. So not everything listed is appropriate or eligible for our Nevada-based teams, but it's still a site that you should go to regularly throughout the season, not just once at the beginning. Check in on it every few weeks to see what's posted on there to help support your team. Grants do take some time. It is a long ball game of applying for a grant, maybe not getting a positive response right away, but it improves your grant chances next year as you rewrite it and get better and better. So do make sure you're looking into that year after year. One of our great supporters we've had for a number of years and is continuing on, of course, is the Gene Haas Foundation. They do have a grant available to our teams. I do want to make sure that everyone is aware of this and hopefully everyone's applying for it. One of the great things about the Gene Haas Foundation grant is it isn't just restricted to our public schools. I know the Tesla Education Investment, the Nevada Department of Education, due to donor intent, had to go to the public school system. This one does not. This one will support public schools, private schools, any team that's registered with a 501c3, you're eligible for this grant. Even if you don't have a 501c3, what's nice about this is you can go through the Hack Club that is now available to teams. So this grant really is something that all of our teams should be trying for. There is more popularity with this grant, so it is becoming more competitive. When you're filling out the application, be sure to fill it out in full and show how your team is involved in FIRST, in the community, and the successes moving forward. So it is a little bit of work, but it's well worth it to do this grant. And a lot of our teams are receiving it, so just make sure you are signing up for it. Last bit about grants is if you've been with us for a number of years, you know that FIRST has been able to do a great job. I should say FIRST Nevada specifically has done a great job of finding support for our teams. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long conversation, usually by Angela, working with our donors, working with people like Tesla, working with Gene Haas Foundation to help support our teams. That only works when we have a collective voice moving forward. If everyone goes to our sponsors as individual teams, it overwhelms them and confuses them about the support. So when it comes to our First Nevada sponsors, we do ask that you recognize that we are already working with them, and that if you would like to have some support from them, please come through us first, because there might be conversations happening that might be bigger than just your team. It might be a multi-year process. Just be respectful of the First Nevada sponsors that not only support individual teams, but also support the Las Vegas Regional, which is a costly event to run. So as you're working through your fundraising, just ask you visit our page, just glance through our sponsors, which are constantly being updated. If you see one on there that you're interested in, let us know, talk to Angela about that, and see if there's something going on already. Just want to make sure you're mindful of our sponsors. Not that we're territorial, it's just that sometimes we have a big thing in the process that blossoms into something like the Tesla education investment that supports all of our teams, or is able to provide equipment across programs. Just be aware that we're working on that, and we want to make you aware of that as we move forward. That's a lot of talking. Any questions on that kind of team preparation category? If we're going to stay quiet, I'm going to ask you, how you doing? What's the pulse check of everyone right now? How are you feeling going into REEFSCAPE and everything? Welcome to unmute, chat away.
Well, as I told some of you before things got rolling, we're in a unfamiliar landscape, literally and figuratively, and I just hope everybody out there is patient. When we get things up and rolling, I'll make sure that we put out the usual invitation for rookies and others who need to come by the shop for some help during the build season.
Appreciate that, Joe. You guys have been a wonderful supporter of all of our teams. I also want to remind, while they're doing their reconstruction, we do have a second field in the valley. So SECTA does have a full field, and they've been great about opening their doors as well. So if you do want to get on the field, and they've been getting really good about supporting teams in their shop as well. So while we wait for Cimarron to be finish their renovation, SECTA is an alternative choice as well. Yeah. Good.
So Mark says he's stressed. What can we help with, Mark? Is it stressed in general or stress for FRC?
I'd say, honestly, for the competition and the robots team itself, it's more or less just trying to pick up from basically where we started at, kind of what ground zero is. It's an unfamiliar territory, and the 3 head coaches that we currently have on the team are all 3 alumni of different teams. So we all have the knowledge of building a robot. We just got to figure out the knowledge of the background of the team.
And this year, the headquarters is going to repeat doing a kit bot, so you will have that to fall back on as a good starting point. Yeah.
And Mark, again, this is FIRE's 11th year. So, and it's my 15th or 16th in FRC. So reach out to me and I can help you with the ins and outs of coaching and coming together as with your new coaches and getting stuff rolling. Decrease the stress.
Definitely, we'll do that. I'm going to pass my information, you and Riley's information onto the other head coaches too, and reach out to you guys as soon as I can.
Great. Since I'm already talking, I'm just going to keep talking. So FIRE's actually grown this year. I think we're actually over 20 kids, which is awesome. And we have 4 new mentors who have moved in. We lost another one down your way. I don't know if he's joined a team yet, but we've now lost 2 of our mentors down to Vegas area. But we gained 4. So I'm pretty excited. We're also doing our swerve for the first time this fall. So we're working on that right now. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we're good. We're in a good spot. We have almost 3/4 of the team returning. So like we have 15 returning, which again is unheard of for us. So we're excited.
That's great. Well, if you're still in touch with the 2 that came down to Vegas, I don't know if we've connected with them that you can pass on.
Yeah, we harass them all the time. So I'm sure somebody down there will hear from them at some point.
Recruit them to volunteer or something.
Yeah.
Thanks. Hey, Nathan, I know you're new this year and over at Legacy, and I think you're working with Scott, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Who has experience? How are you doing? You still just drinking from the fire hose, or?
Very much so. I would like to say though, if Clint from Cimarron is coming over to see if he can help me fix my laser next week, but assuming that I get that, my tooling for my Haas machines, and I do have a shop bot that's up and running. So assuming that I get all 3 of those up and running, I'm willing to help other teams out with some of their custom manufacturing parts as much as I can with the machines that I have. But yeah, it's very much drinking from the fire hose right now. I mean, I've been mentoring for several years. I helped Barry out for a couple of years, and then I've been with, and then the past 2 years I've been helping out Dawn and Scott for the Meadobots. Like I saw a picture of myself on the slide for the Cimarron scrimmage, which is kind of fun. But yeah, it's very it's kind of, a little overwhelming, but also kind of cool, full circle from me being on an FRC. Yeah, I'm in the bottom corner there in the white sweatshirt. But yeah, it's kind of interesting coming from being a kid on a FIRST Robotics team. I was on Team Paradox in San Diego, but coming from that and now finally, or coming to the point where I'm the head coach of the team, I'm taking point on FRC. Our students are kind of right now in VEX mode right now, which I'm going to try and switch them over to FTC, but that's a my year 3 kind of thing. That's when I estimate the fire hose will start to run out of water.
Well, that's great. I didn't know your background. So you were on a FRC team in California then?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That's great. Okay.
I was on Team Paradox from the 2008 to 2011 seasons.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, great. I'm glad you have the experience. I didn't know if you were coming at it, and I didn't know if you had been working with some of the other teams locally. So that's awesome. That's perfect. So some of the resources already.
A couple of times, Angela, both at the scrimmage, and then I also introduced you to Dan from CSN last year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You looked familiar. Yeah, I'm actually going to see him at a Gene Haas event down at the Deborah March Center on Friday.
I was going to say that's on Friday. I saw. I'm probably going to sneak into that event on Saturday. It ran out of registration slots, but Dan said he'd sneak me in.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, well, I have a board meeting and we have an FL event on Saturday, so we're going to stop by on Friday. Well, good. We're glad you're part of the team. It sounds like you already have some great local resources, but definitely let us know how we can help support you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that does remind me, seeing Nathan's name there. UNLV has their mentor course going again this year, and I know a number of you will be receiving or already connected with your mentors, and so that's going to be a great resource to help support you. And if you need any help, I know I don't think Jonathan's on here. I see Jackie was, though. Let Jonathan know, or I can communicate to Jonathan support. I know. Is Jonathan on here?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Jonathan and Jackie.
Oh, they're together. Okay, good.
I was running short.
Yeah, if you ever need help, Jonathan, I hope I'm not over speaking for you, but reach out to him and see about any support they can provide from UNLV as well.
Yeah, I actually got an email yesterday from a couple of their students that I need to respond to now. I always am forgetting to respond to emails.
That has been a very successful program, and it's great to see them helping our teams out. That's been helping them quite a bit.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so I look forward to working with you.
Look forward to working with you too.
Good. Well, we're at the 8 o'clock hour. I try to keep this at an hour or less. I'm happy to stay on, answer any questions, chat some more if you like. But at this point, I'm done speaking everything I've got to share. We have another Coaches Corner coming up in November, which we'll send out that information for. This is being recorded, so if you have a coach that wasn't able to attend, you can send them this. The presentation slides are available as well. But everyone else, I do appreciate your time tonight. Like I said, I'll stick around, answer any questions you have. Otherwise, have a good evening, and I hope to see everyone pretty soon.